McFetridge. I want to welcome you to my reflection section for blended learning for January of 2019. Part of what I get to do here in Fayetteville, Arkansas is work with a lot of teachers from K-12 in the area of blended learning or technology integration, as some people may call it. And so what I've decided to do this year is to try to at least do a monthly kind of reflection. So here's the one for January of 2019. Kind of going to start off with the hashtag one word 2019. And so for me, which is the word contribution. So a lot of what we talk about here in Fayetteville in the area of blended learning is how students kind of have this two-sided piece with blended learning. They can either be consumers with technology and learning or contributors. And so I've decided for my one word for 2019 to be contribution, to help kind of just identify that for the teachers in this district as well as others that I follow or share things with on social media as well. And so with that idea, this January, as we came back to school, I was able to work with a lot of different teachers at different schools in some different blended learning training sessions, but all of those sessions all had a piece of that contribution in it, and that's my goal for the rest of actually this whole year. So the remainder of this school year and at least the start of next school year and during our summer sessions is really focus on how can our students do more than consume with technology, but actually contribute with technology. One of the big training sessions I've done in that aspect is SAMR training, or it's kind of a review for our teachers here, and it's definitely a model that's been around for a while. The SAMR instructional model, to me, is more so of a teacher reflection tool and a teacher planning tool. It's not an administrative evaluation tool for how teachers are using technology in their classroom, as much as a way for teachers to realize how they've been using tech in their classroom. And so to me, you've got these two main areas with SAMR. So you've got an enhancement level and the transformation level. And so that kind of ties in with that idea that at that enhancement level, that's kind of the same area or place where students are consumers with tech. And then the transformation level is where we start to see the contribution piece, because students are becoming more, they're creating with the technology, they're sharing out with the technology, not just consuming information and taking it in. I always tell teachers that it's a little harder to do at the elementary level just because of some limitations we have with students and technology usage under the age of 13. And so had a good conversation this month about, there's an app called Seesaw. It's kind of like a portfolio app many of you may be familiar with, and how it allows the teacher to then share out to the students' parents and those types of things. So it's kind of those building blocks of, hey, we're going to take this assignment you just did, we're going to share this out, and it's going to leave our classroom walls, and it's actually going to go to your parents' device. And then as I was having that conversation, I was able to learn from one of our teachers here in Fayetteville that Class Dojo now has that feature. So those of you using Class Dojo who may have looked into that portfolio feature or have not yet, that's what it'll do for you, is actually allow you to take pictures of student work and send it to their parents immediately. So I thought it was pretty cool that now we have Seesaw for that, Class Dojo for that. You can do that with Google Classroom as well. Another great thing that happened this month in Fayetteville was a conversation I had with some teachers during a SAMR training, and we started talking about Kahoot. And so, as most of you know, Kahoot, and I went back and did a little research, Kahoot's actually been around since 2013, so it's a fairly older tool now. It's still really engaging for students, and our teachers really like it, but it's not like a hip new tool anymore. It's been around for a while. So we talked about how Kahoot, just taking the quiz, you're more at that enhancement level, kind of an augmentation. Students are getting immediate feedback on a quiz, but that's all it's really doing. But then we talked about that, well, can our students create with Kahoot? And so, of course they could, and then just how that can boost up. You start to give your students content and allow them to create a Kahoot instead of always being on the receiving, I'm taking a quiz end. And what that brings in not only does it kind of allow them to be a contributor, but just how that raises levels of thinking in Bloom's or DOK, how all of a sudden they're having to sort information, they're having to see what's really relevant to quiz about and what's not, and how that really kind of ups the game. So if you're not doing that, I encourage you to go ahead and let your students try to make a Kahoot instead of always be on the receiving end and taking it. The last thing I want to hit on is I was able to work with a teacher at a school here in Fayetteville called Leverett Elementary, and she had a touchscreen TV in her room, and she was needing a little help getting going with it. And so I was able to work some with ClassFlow, which is a Promethean website from Promethean for Promethean boards, but it's actually now just an open free website for anybody. So if you have a Promethean board or not, you can use that site, and it's great. It allows interactivity on the screen, but it also has a feature where students can log into it and you can send what's on the screen up front to all the devices in your classroom. So that's just kind of a recommendation. I've been checking out ClassFlow for a few years, but this was a time, it's been a few months, and I went back to it, and it seems like a lot of the features are really starting to take off. So another recommendation, if you haven't checked out ClassFlow, I think it's just www.classflow.com. You should check it out and see if it's something you can use for direct instruction with your students. All right, so that wraps it up for this month's Blended Learning reflection of my work here with Fayetteville Public Schools. Always look forward to some great feedback, and thanks for watching.